Welcome team to the Premier Property Q&A Live, and if you're joining me for the first time, my name is Kam Dovedi. I'm the founder of Premier Property and an investor developer over the last 30 years, and I'm doing this on a weekly basis to answer your questions. And these questions have come from our Premier Property Inner Circle members, people like you who are really on it and investing in property and making it work right now in 2021. So let's jump in and answer these questions. I've got three specific questions here. Quite interesting questions, some of them right near the edge, to be fair. I'll explain what I mean, so we're going to jump in right now. Now, this is recorded live on Facebook in our Premier Property community, and then you might be watching this on YouTube. So if you are, and you haven't already, then do feel free to subscribe to our channel, and it'll be great for you to be, we'd love you to be part of our team here, so that, if you've got any comments or questions yourself, feel free to ask. And also, I'd love to hear some of your experience as well, in terms of whatever you got. And there's no silly question, by the way. So, yeah, you can do that right now. And you can subscribe and click on that bell icon to make sure that you get the latest videos that I'm releasing every single week. Many of them actually on sites. So, hopefully you're doing that right now. And I'm going to jump into the questions now. The first question is from Jason. Jason is asking, like what I say, part of the Premier Property Inner Circle. And Jason is asking a little bit of a, can we say a cheeky question? Because he's asking about how can we use credit cards. Can we use credit cards to, in a nutshell, can you use credit cards for stamp duty? Can you use credit cards to put towards deposit? Well, to be fair, Jason, the answer to that one is no. Stamp duty, they won't accept credit cards. And also deposits, the lender needs to know where that money's come from. And one thing that they will actually ask you is that it is not from a other source of lending. So your deposits need to be your own savings, your own funds. It can be refinance, it can be all of that kind of stuff. But when it comes to credit cards, that's a no-no. Now, where I've used credit cards, I've used them for things like purchasing furniture. I've used them for buying goods sometimes. But keeping in mind, and very important, of course, I can't give you financial advice, I'm just sharing with you what we do. Keeping in mind that you've got to pay that credit card off, really important. So if you are going to use a credit card, make sure that you've got a plan to pay it off and you're factoring any interest. But like what I say, on the odd occasion, we've used a credit card. And one of the things I like about credit cards is I like to pay off the full balance. And when you time your credit card correctly, it can take you typically 56 days from you actually using it until you need to pay it off. But like what I say, I'm repeating it and I say it again, make sure that if you're going to use it, that you can pay it off and you can manage the payments. Really, really important. Obviously, I'm just mentioning what we do. So that's where we use credit cards. Enough said on that one, Jason. Next question is from Clint. So Clint is also asking, about finance. How can you get finance in effect for development finance before you've completed on the deal? For money required to carry out the works. So now, I know Clint, you're doing some creative strategies there. So one of the things that we do at Premier Property is, we use traditional lending, but in certain cases where we're not using traditional lending, what we also do is we use other people's money. Now you probably heard about that, right? OPM, other people's money. Now, think about this. So the way I've used this, and we use it now, is friends. Yeah, yes, absolutely, friends. Friends that understand that you have decided to learn what to do properly. And in my experience, when you know what to do properly, then people will lend you that money. And your friends, colleagues of long standing, people that you've known for a very long time, family members. Where they can borrow you money as well. People that you get my meaning, right? So people that are around you, they will lend you that money. And keep in mind, please, you got to keep on the right side of FCA regulations. Specifically, I'm discussing here PS 13/3. That's one for another time, but you got that there. PS 13/3, and as long as it's a simple loan, as I understand it, what we do is a simple loan from friends, colleagues, people of long standing that you've known for a long time, then we can borrow that money on a simple loan note, simple interest. And the key of this is the money borrowed must not be part of an equity share in a project. So it is a loan note, not a share of a specific project. Now, do be sure to get further advice on this. I'm just sharing with you how we do it, and that's how you can use Clint's simple loan notes to literally have the funding if you require for the works that are required. So start thinking, who do you know? Yeah, and right now, let's be honest, there's a lot of people out there who've got money in the bank. They've got a bit of a problem, haven't they? Because they're not earning a lot on that. There's very low interest when it comes to money in the bank. And of course, where they leverage people like you, where they can lend that money to you, well then, of course, they're going to get a better return on investment. So great question there, Clint and Jason, all about funding. And the third question I've got here also is another one of our Premier Property Inner Circle members. And this is actually from Anna. Anna's asking about finance. So what are the pros and cons in personal finance versus limited company finance? What's your take on this, Cam? Okay, so personal or company finance. Now, of course, there's tax structures and all of that. Let's put that to one side. In my experience, when it comes to financing, we do both. We do personal finance for buy-to-lets, HMOs, residential type finance. We also do company finance for, again, buy-to-lets, HMOs, and also in terms of permitted development and developments. So a number of strategies in property. We use both sides of the approach. So what I've found is this. So when it comes to interest rates, when you're borrowing personally, if we're just assessing the finance element only, and like what I say, other tax implications and other things are, separate things that we also need to think about and bring into the balance of this. But we're just going to discuss and answer your questions specifically here. And by the way, if you're enjoying some of this information, then, why haven't you clicked on the bell icon? Or maybe you already have. Forgive me if you have. If you haven't, now's the time to do it. Just going to grab that glass of water just over here while you click on that bell icon. And I'm going to answer this specific question, pros and cons. Right, well, when it comes to financing, just the financing side, personal names, you will find that the interest rates are lower. Of course, no financial advice, you get this, right? So interest rates will be lower comparatively to limited companies. Having said that, limited companies have really come down over the number of years in terms of interest rates. So the interest rates are much lower than they were 2, 3, 4 years ago. So it is a very viable option that we find at Premier Property. And you can decide that, do you do it in personal or do you do it in limited company? Limited company will be, like I say, slightly higher though in terms of percentage according to personal. Also, keep in mind, if you are deciding to get into finance and you're financing for a limited company because in a limited company you think that you're protected in terms of guarantees, well, the thing is, with a limited company, you will still be required. I mean, every time we do a mortgage, we do typically anywhere between 2 to 5-ish, around that sort of figure, every single month. What you'll find is that you will be asked for a personal guarantee. So, if you're doing it in personal names, you're going to have to give your personal guarantee. If you're doing this in limited company finance, you're also going to be having to give your personal guarantee. So either way, it doesn't really make any difference if that was your reason. So that shouldn't be your decision maker in terms of should it be limited company finance or should it be personal finance. I hope I'm making sense here for you. Now, thinking about that, also think about the time frame. Now, in my experience, what you find is when you're doing a mortgage or a remortgage in personal names, the timeline is just that much faster. Typically, the lenders on the other side do not have another solicitor who will be acting upon them. It's usually given, the details usually given to your conveyancing solicitor, and they will act on their behalf and they will act on your behalf. And my point is faster timeline, speedier results. So that's with the personal. Now, when it comes to limited companies, now in my experience, there are lenders that will allow your solicitor to actually deal with the whole transaction. However, having said that, the majority of lenders, what we're finding right now, they have their own solicitors that they are using, third-party solicitors they're using to deal with the lending transaction on their side. So, just to clarify, you've got your solicitor who's dealing with your side of the financing. So the mortgage offer comes through, it goes to your solicitor, they'll deal with your side. Limited companies we're discussing here. But with a limited company, on the lender side, they will also have a third-party solicitor. And in my experience, don't get me started on this, but they are so slow. It is unbelievable how slow they are right now. Just in the last couple of months, we've had a number of mortgage offers which we've had to ask for them to be extended. We're saying, please, can you extend the mortgage offer? Not because it's our fault, but because the lenders' solicitors are just so slow in responding and dealing with the aspects of what they've got to deal with. So just keep that in mind when it comes to limited companies. But you always get it over the line. You can always get it over the line. Yeah, absolutely. So that works in that way. So think about the time frame when you're thinking about financing personal and limited companies. Another thing you also want to be aware of when it comes to limited companies and personal. So if you're buying properties which are in certain areas, so for example, we'll buy properties in areas where they're quite a lower price, below £100,000. We also buy properties like in London where there are a couple of million. So different strategy. But when you're actually getting lending, what I've found for lower price properties, you'll find that there are much less lenders right now. And of course this changes on a daily basis, but currently there are much less lenders lending on limited companies, I'm finding, below the figures of the 100,000, namely below £70,000, less lenders for limited companies, more lenders for personal. So if it's a case for you where you're thinking, well, you want to get the mortgage through, and it's a property where you need more lenders, you might think about, should you do it in limited or should you do it in personal names because of the lenders available. So like what I say, taxation, all the other elements are separate. We're just discussing the finance side. So that is question number 3. And I hope you joined our community. If you haven't, you can do it right now. Subscribe right here. And I will be doing this time next week. My name is Kam Dovedi, the founder of Premier Property, helping you to take your property investing to the next level. I will see you next week at the same time. See you later.